Good morning. Good morning. Today we discuss why your story matters. We tell stories every day. Every day we share a little bit of our lives through stories. Stories come in many different forms. Sometimes they are accounts of something that has happened. Sometimes they are lies or rumors. And sometimes they are folklore passed down from generation to generation. All cultures and races and religions and beliefs and no beliefs have a story, and we are all a part of it. We do a pretty crap job of sharing our story most of the time, but I will get to that later. Right now, I will tell you a story about me. When I was younger, say 6 or 7 years old, I loved to draw. Since I can remember, I have always been a bit artsy fartsy. So I would draw tons of pictures of what no one knows. But boy, would I go through a few packs of printer paper. And from there, I got into cutting up clothes. And from there, painting clothes and making purses and learning how to sew a little bit. And like most people, when I reached a peak or had gotten enough clientele or began to be noticed for my work, I had forgotten the process. One day, very late at night, say 11 p.m. or so, I was up working on an outfit for someone. And my dad was getting ready for bed but had stopped in the doorway of my room to say goodnight and to see or be nosy and check out what I was making that night. This night in particular, I was making a t-shirt with a cartoon on it called Pepe Le Pew. It's a little skunk. You know, the one that's always in love? Yeah, that one. That's the one I was drawing. This was a request from my best friend, so I wanted it to be just right. My dad could not quite make out what I was drawing just yet. So he asked me to show him what it was supposed to look like. I showed him the picture I was tracing onto the shirt. And he didn't really say anything at the time. But later on, by now it's almost 1 a.m., here comes Dad again trying to figure out why I'm still up on a school night, but also being a pinch nosy. And I'm waiting on him this time because now the shirt is complete and I'm drying it with a hair dryer and sealing it. And Dad sees it. He still doesn't say much. He just watches and waits until I finish up. Then he says, you know, when you first started to draw, you were horrible. Really, you were the worst drawer I had ever seen. You would draw pictures for me every day, and every day I would wonder what the heck you were drawing. All I could do is laugh because my dad is a really silly guy. Then he said, to see your art now is not just beauty. It really is the result of hard work. Because drawing was not your natural talent. He said that you really could do anything you put your mind to if you can do this. And at that time I was about 16. When I was 18, My dad retired, and I went with him to clean out his office at work. In his drawer at his office was mainly three things. There was drawings of some type of chicken scratch, bracelets with words on them, and Vienna sausages. As I went to throw the things in his drawer away, my dad said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm throwing this stuff away." He said, "You don't even know what that is. That's your drawings." I looked back at this chicken scratch that I could not make out, and I said, "You kept these? Why? You don't even know what these are." "I don't know what these are." And I drew them. He said, "I know exactly what they are. They're hard work. And hard work beats talent every time." It's hard for me to talk about this because the anniversary of his death was last week. And yesterday, we buried my aunt almost a year to the date. They used to tell me growing up that you just got to live a little longer. Just live a little longer, and you will understand more by and by. So lately, I just keep hearing my dad talk about hard work. Maybe he was just talking about art, but maybe he was talking about life. Life being hard work, and us forgetting the process, forgetting that we need each other and stories to keep us connected, comforted, united, and sane. Is there not any good grandparents out there anymore? What happened to the stories about the good old days? Did we let technology take that from us too? Because it's nothing new under the sun, right? I'm telling you this story about me and about where I'm at because stories matter. Your story matters, and somebody needs to hear it. What I just shared is a story about a very important person in my life. I didn't air any dirty laundry. I didn't embarrass anyone I love. I simply shared a little piece of me, a piece of my life. But what did you get from it? Even in a story this short, you can now understand a bit about who I am, my character, my environment, my culture, and a little bit of me. Without sharing my story in some way, even if a small way, how will you ever get to know me? How will you ever have empathy for me? How will you ever have compassion for me? Or will you? And it's the same in reverse. If you don't share your story, even if in a small way, how will I ever get to know you? How will I ever have empathy for you? How will I have compassion for you? Or will I? When we tell each other our stories, we break generational curses together. Generational curses that must collectively be acknowledged and then collaborated with each other to recreate new stories to be told to our future generations. So if it's this easy, why don't we do it? Why don't we share our stories, no matter how big or small? Why do we keep them to ourselves? Truthfully, I don't know. I have some guesses, and I would like to hear your thoughts as well. Let me know what you think via the chat as well as in the sanctuary. Why do you guys think we don't share our stories? Thank you. You guys could just call out. I mean, we're in here together. Anybody? Go. Embarrassment, judgment. Somebody on the chat says being shy, judgmental. It's difficult to be vulnerable. Someone else in the sanctuary says sometimes you think your stories don't have much significance. Rejection. Okay. I wrote some of the same down. Thanks, Alex. I wrote some of the same things down when I was preparing for this. I put some things that I considered some reasons why we don't share our stories are fear, judgment, and trust. That's why many people feel they can tell a stranger their life story because they are less concerned with that stranger's judgment. And they trust that they probably will never have to see the stranger again. But when it comes to our inner circle, to our family, to our friends, people who are a part of our village, people who may love us but judge us worse than the Egyptian goddess Ma'at every chance they get. And that's the goddess that weighs your heart against the feather. But when it comes to, rightfully so, we begin to share less and less. We become a lot more private, and before we know it, even our loved ones don't really know who we are. So where do we get this from? This ideal of wanting to keep everything to ourselves and not share. I grew up Baptist, and the first place I remember getting these ideals from was church. The church. And all this goodness gave people something to believe in, while at the same time giving us plenty of bad habits. Bad habits like trying to be perfect in front of everyone, or putting on or worrying about what other people think of you when those people don't even know you like that. Not this specific church or a specific religious group, but the church, that general community of people pretending to be perfect and judging people who do the same thing they do. That church. I can't stand that people that start that conversation like, I don't do, etc. I don't cuss. I don't drink. I don't lie. I don't blah, 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 blah. But you're still human, right? So you still make mistakes. You still, even though you may try to be good and live life right, in your religion you may still sin, or you still do bad. You still do wrong sometimes. And if that's the case, then miss me with the all I don't judgmental ways of church. If you don't do something, go ahead and don't do it. But stop talking about it. I'm not trying to badmouth the church. It's just church's problems come from some of the judgment that creates. And some of the problems also come from the person. My aunt that just passed yesterday, Aunt Lois, she did a flawless job at being a Christian. She didn't spend much time claiming Christianity. She was too busy living it. She wasn't really judgmental. She didn't pretend much. She was just a good person who did good deeds. Really, her being Christian, I don't think had much to do with it at all. She could have been a part of any religion or no religion at all, and she still would have been amazing because she was her. and no one could be that but her. She would always say, praise him at the oddest times, like getting gas or toasting wine. Just random all the time. Just praise him. She just say it randomly. And I would come over sometimes and say, hey, Auntie, and her response was always praise him. And I never really thought about what that meant until now. Her praiseums were not random at all. On the contrary, they were very intentional. What she was saying was thank you to the God that she serves and the person she believed in. She was saying thank you all the time and for everything. Thank you for the gas, for the wine, for the time to spend with her family, just for saying, hey, these stories are my story and your story and someone else's story. But how will we ever know that if we don't share? So how do we share more? First off, you have to stop lying. If it's something you don't want to talk about or something you're insecure about, you just say, I don't feel comfortable talking about that. And you move on to a more comfortable topic for you. But don't get uncomfortable and then lie yourself to safety. Because the first person you lie to is yourself. And then you start to believe the lie, and then you have to pretend to keep up with these lies. And then all these genuine conversation opportunities, they come up and you abuse them and you lie some more and some more. But in time, all lies reveal themselves, right along with the liars who tell them. In order for you to share, in order for someone to share with you, they need to trust you. And to get someone to trust you, you probably should be trustworthy. No one is going to be telling you stories if they hear that same story they told you repeated to them from someone else. We're not talking about gossip here. We're talking about real conversations with real people. Any topic, just genuine time to share space with one another. True intimacy. Because stories are really all we are. We're just great walking memoirs waiting to be shared. We don't like to talk about suicide much because it's hard for a lot of people to understand why people choose to take their lives. But since today kicks off Mental Health Awareness Month, I charge you all to share a story with someone. No matter how big or small, just to share a piece of yourself with someone else. Because you really don't know how what you share with someone can change their life or even save their life. Just to know they're not alone could be enough to make a person reconsider. Mental health statistics are alarmingly high, so much so that I intentionally left the numbers out of my notes. But I did want to mention that they're higher for the LGBTQ plus individuals. Sharing your story could be the story of a lifetime. The next bestseller. You could be one story away from saving someone's life, encouraging someone, or helping someone heal. It's a shame that we consider other places in the world third world countries because of their financial standing. But we are third world in the way that we treat each other and in our quality of life. I learned that during COVID, through losing loved ones and all the changes and challenges we have faced over this last year. I realized that my life automatically restructured itself in crisis, with time now being the most valuable, most significant part. I'm not saying sharing your story is easy. I'm just saying we all need to do it. It doesn't matter who you share with, your kids, friends, strangers, just that you share. Stories may have the power to change the world. They may be the answer to all of our differences. See, because life is kind of like fine wine. It gets better with time. One day, someone will tell the story of you, your life, your legacy, your successes and failures, and who better to author it than you?